I have had health problems since high school. They started while I was in high school, and so I've been looking for the last 25 years for what I can do to be healthier. I was talking with a new acquaintance, and this person mentioned the video Forks Over Knives and said, "Have you seen it?" And I said, "Well, I've seen it in passing on Netflix." And he said, "You should watch it. I think you'd really enjoy it." So I thought, well, okay. I went home that day and had a free afternoon, and so I sat down with my 15-year-old and we watched Forks Over Knives. When we turned it off, I turned to my son Hiram and said, "So, Hiram, what do you think?" And he said, "I'm vegan." I said, "But I don't know how to cook that way." And he said, "Well, don't worry, Mom. I ordered in 4 cookbooks from the library while we were watching the movie."
So I come home from work, I open the door, I walk in, and our youngest, Joshua, says, "Dad, guess what? We're going vegan or vegetarian," or whatever it was at the time.
And my husband just said, "What happened while I was at work today?"
I was surprised but cautious. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement. I turned to my wife and she explained that they just got done watching a documentary on whole food, plant-based eating, basically avoiding processed foods and meats and dairies. And I welcomed the announcement, but I wasn't really prepared for just the extent of what this announcement meant.
We just changed overnight, and it was really challenging because I truly thought that we were eating healthy before we switched.
My wife, Michelle, really took it to heart, and she turned the corner that day, and we went from being healthy as we knew it to being more healthy as we have discovered it to be.
To have this revelation of you're not eating a very healthy diet was very difficult. I woke up one day and thought, hey, this is not so bad. We found a lot of recipes that we like, and it's not as hard anymore. And over time, I gathered tools that made the job a lot easier, and I learned how to use a lot of different grains and legumes that I did not even know existed. For the first 2 weeks, I felt rotten. I really felt horrible, and that made me question whether this was right. But I realized one day, I'm not eating enough. I am so used to limiting my portions because I had a propensity to gain weight, and I was constantly trying to fight those extra pounds. And so I was very used to just filling my plate a certain amount and eating that. And when I realized I'm not eating enough and it's making me tired, so I started eating as much as I wanted. And I felt so much better. I really started going uphill from that point, and I had so much more energy. I switched over to this diet very quickly, and I see other people who I know they're struggling and they're looking for answers, and sometimes I want to go up to them and just shake them and say, I've got the answer, just listen to me. But I know I can't. It has to be everybody's personal journey. And if somebody asks me for advice or help, I am so happy to help them because it's been such a blessing for me in my life. And it excites me when I see people coming along the path to good health.